Queens Exploring Sex Ed. Hey everyone! Welcome to our first episode for a Quickie podcast. Rijannah, Ashley, together with Francine, Kate, Savinnah, and Queennie, wants you to join them as teen queens talk about sex education.
Assuming that most Filipinos are mostly close-minded about this topic, it is very delicate for us to talk about this freely. So, the objectives of the Quickie podcast are to
provide knowledge and awareness about consent and boundaries, contraceptives, financial means of taking care of children, and induce abortions to the listeners to reduce the stigma about these topics in the Philippines.
And, by the end of this podcast, listeners should be empowered to make their own decisions about their bodies.
Trigger warning for our dear listeners, rape will be discussed in some parts of our discussion, so viewer discretion is advised.
With that in mind, we hope you are ready for an engaging discussion here in our podcast.
To start this episode, let us briefly explain what sex education is and its significance.
As stated by Planned Parenthood, sex education, often abbreviated as sex ed, aims to teach high-quality education to individuals about the varying topics related to sex and human sexuality. Makakatulong ito sa mga taong sexually curious at sa pangangalaga sa kanilang reproductive health at relationships with themselves and others.
Okay, halimbawa isa kayong mga nanay. Would you teach your children sex ed or would you let their school teach it for them?
Ako kasi, I would discourage schools or parents from teaching children sex ed. Paano ba yung maglilid ng magandang outcomes that's encouraging underage sex? Hindi ba mas appropriate for it to be taught in colleges instead?
Well, I beg to disagree, Be. Kasi sex ed does not promote underage sex, but it aims to equip them with the knowledge they can use in exploring their sexuality in the future.
Well, opinion ko lang yun. I'm open to discussing this topic, but I do agree that it's better if handa ng mga kabataan for the future.
Okay lang yan, te. Opinions are not always static. They can evolve with new information, pero I appreciate that you gave your opinion on this.
Thank you, Kate, for being considerate.
Ikaw, Kate, anong comment mo?
Sa ekonomiya na to, hindi na ata ako mag-aanak.
Bakla! Yung alagang 20 minutes natin kinakain mo.
Sorry.
Go.
If I were a mother, I would feel more comfortable if it starts at home since the education system here in the Philippines does not fully tackle sex ed for children.
Ako rin, agree ako sa sinabi ni Kate. Schools here in the Philippines do teach sex ed in MAPE, pero they only tackle the surface area of the topic.
Ako rin, I would personally teach my children kasi sa school, hindi naman guaranteed na 100% safe sila ron, di ba? Especially children are vulnerable to sex predators since anyone can be a sexual predator, may it be students or the teachers.
Alam niyo ba, may napanood akong balita sa GMA. May part-time teacher na ng rape ng minor de edad na estudyante sa Quezon City at sinubukan niya pang tumakas. Pero buti naman at inaresto siya agad ng mga pulis.
Grabe, totoo ba? Teacher pa yung suspect.
Yes. What happened was unfortunate for the victim and his or her family. Yung suspect, sabi sa video, ay ni-rape yung estudyante pag wala lang tao sa lugar.
Hay nako, mahihirapan ka talaga magtiwala sa mga tao, lalo na sa mga inaasahang role models ng mga kabataan.
That's why schools should teach children proper sex education so that students can create boundaries with others because rape can happen anytime and anywhere.
Importante na maging edukado ang mga kabataan sa kanilang reproductive organs dahil baka sila ay maging biktima ng harassment, sexual abuse at iba pa.
Oo. At ayon kay Dr. Rycel na 2022, dapat turuan ng maaga ang mga bata tungkol sa kanilang private body parts at huwag gumamit ng code names.
Kung nanay,
Na naman?
last na to, kung nanay kayo, tuturuan niyo ba yung mga anak niyo ng private parts nila by using code names o yung actual na mga terms?
In my opinion, it's better kung gumamit na lang ng code names. Kasi I don't want children using terms that are not appropriate for their age.
I disagree with your opinion, Sav. Using accurate terms that refer to reproductive organs are not always inappropriate. You can teach children using terms kagaya ng tite, pepe, utong, and so on.
Yes, walang mali doon. Additionally, it fosters better communication with their parents, especially if may mga tanong sila about their bodies.
Okay, gets ko kayo. I have to take back what I said, but teaching children with appropriate words is still a must.
Real!
So, anong thoughts nyo about teaching children about consent and boundaries?
Well, for me, importante na malaman ng mga kabataan ang pagsiset ng personal boundaries and the right to be asked for consent that protects their privacy, body, and personal space.
Correct. Para na rin maiwasan ng mga inappropriate child-adult relationships. Kasi if children are taught to set personal boundaries with others, it can act as a protective mechanism against it.
Yes, plus inform your children that they can trust you with their secrets and that you can protect them from dangerous people.
And about their private parts, they should know that other people are not allowed to see and touch them except if it is a medical examinations with doctors or with their parents.
Guys, i-define naman natin ngayon kung ano yung safe sex.
Well, for me safe sex ay ang pag-eliminate ng mga unnecessary things or alam mo na, couple thingy tuwing may intercourse na nagaganap. Pero girls, do you know the importance of it? Sobrang daming pros pero may cons din ito.
Well, according to my research, di ba? Research ang datingan. Safe sex can decrease the rate of unintended pregnancies and STDs tulad ng HIV, tsaka ng AIDS, chlamydia, and gonorrhea by using contraceptives.
At alam niyo ba, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority, about 5.4% of teens in the year 2022 have been pregnant dito sa Pilipinas.
Grabe naman, pero mas mababa na siya kumpara sa datos ng 2018, di ba?
Oo, the Population Commission found out na ang ilan sa mga factors leading to this are lack of access to family planning, sexual violence, at syempre, lack of sufficient sex education. Kaya talagang importante ang sex education. Disclaimer lang to our dear listeners, Teen Queens are not promoting underage sex. We just want to educate our audience with sufficient knowledge about safe sex so that they can be responsible about their bodies in the future.
Wait, kilala niyo ba si Risa Ontiveros?
Siya ba yung nag-file ng Senate Bill No. 161 or Prevention of Adolescent Pregnancy Act of 2019?
Oo, ito yung promotion niya ng protection of the human rights for all adolescents na ang goal, syempre, to prevent unintended pregnancies.
Buti na lang pala may mga ganyang batas nang naipatupad. Makatutulong kasi ito kahit papaano din sa mga magulang na maging aware at syempre para na rin pangaralan ng mga anak nila.
Back to our talkings kanina, to engage in safe sex, people can use contraceptives to protect against unwanted pregnancies and STDs. Kaya Kate, explain mo to.
According to Planned Parenthood, condoms are small, thin pouches that cover your penis during intercourse. Condoms prevent semen from getting inside the vagina, which prevents pregnancies and STDs. The success rate of condoms is 98%, but since people are not perfect, the success rate in real life is about 87%.
And well, siguro may mga allergies dito. Pero nowadays, condoms are made of allergy-free materials.
Let's go to birth control pills na i-explain naman ni Francine.
According to Planned Parenthood, birth control pills contain hormones that help prevent pregnancies. The success rate of birth control pills is 99%, but since people are not perfect, the success rate is about 93% in real life. Yung mga pills na yan, iniinom na isang beses bawat araw, and those pills come in a pack.
And para naman sa mga pros and cons, ang birth control pills ay nakaka-prevent ng unwanted pregnancies. Planned Parenthood stated that the most frequent adverse effects of using this are headaches, nausea, painful breast, spotting, or bleeding between periods. Kaso, they normally disappear after like 2 or 3 months. And di naman lahat nakaka-experience nun.
Now, punta na tayo sa patches. Si Queennie na to.
Planned Parenthood stated that birth control patches releases hormones that prevent pregnancies through your skin by wearing the patch on various body parts, such as your belly, back, the outer side of your forearm, and more. The success rate of birth control patches is 99%, but since people are not perfect, the success rate is about 93% in real life.
Pero, may consequences ito just like the ineffectiveness of it if hindi nasunod ang schedule ng pagpapalit ng patch. And according to Planned Parenthood, common na rin na side effect ng patches ang spotting or bleeding between period days.
Now, to prevent unwanted pregnancies, a little device is inserted into your uterus called the IUD.
According to Planned Parenthood, this looks like a small piece of plastic that has the shape of the letter T. There are two types of IUDs, hormonal IUDs and copper IUDs, and this can be effective as long as for 12 years depending on their type. The success rate of IUDs is more than 99%, meaning that fewer than 1 out of 100 people will get pregnant each year from using this.
May possible adverse effects ito katulad na lamang ng cramps, fainting, and even irregular periods na pwede pa mag-result ng heavy period.
And now, another aspect of safe sex is to regularly see a doctor for checkups, since STDs are not always visible to the naked eye.
Sexual partners who don't use contraception must be responsible for their actions and bear the consequences of unprotected sex.
Practicing safe sex is not a shameful idea or performance. It helps us avoid disasters. Kaya let's be safe, queens and kings.
And besides, ang mahal kaya magkaanak.
Sa true lang, kulang pa ata ng 1 milyon sa pagpaplano ng pag-aanakan at mga gamit ng bata sa ospital, no?
Legit, no cap. Dito sa Pilipinas, kailangan mo mag-ready ng 20,000 to 100,000 pesos para pa lang sa hospital na mapipili mong pag-anakan. Except kung sa public hospital since under ito ng government fund, kaso mahabang intayan at pasensya ang puhunan dito.
Kahit sabihin natin na may mga public centers na pwede magpa-check up ang buntis, hindi naman 100% na libre lahat. May minimal fees pa rin na magkakos din ng thousands in the whole 9 months of check-up.
Correct ka dyan, sis. Plus, yung mga gamit pang bata na according to iMoney Learning Center, humigit kumulang 110,000 pesos estimated cost para pa lamang sa gamit ng newborn. At hindi pa kasama ang gamit ng ina, pati ang mga vitamins and check-ups after mga anak.
Nabanggit din sa Learning Center na almost 600,000 pesos ang need na medical fund para pa lamang sa pregnancy to delivery.
Hays, mukha ng kaunti yung gastos pero hindi mo alam na lumalagpas ka na pala sa milyon habang papalapit ng papalapit ang gastusin sa bills at sa needs ng bata.
Kaya mas maganda talaga kapag may knowledge ka about safe sex. Mape-prevent nito ang mga ganitong case or mas worse pa rito.
Para sa last topic natin, ang induced abortion.
Ladies, are you ready? This is the last topic.
Go, go, go! Britannica 2023 stated that induced abortion is purposely a removal of a fetus from the uterus before it reaches the viable stage, which in humans is typically around the 20th week of pregnancy.
Kasama ang Pilipinas sa mga bansa na may strict prohibition sa pagkakaroon ng abortion. Even Plan B pills are not available in the Philippines.
Grabe naman ang Pilipinas. Paano na yung mga karapatan natin bilang babae na gumawa ng medical decision concerning our bodies?
Uy, totoo. Mahirap maging babae. In real life, hindi lahat pero baka tinatakbuhan pa ng mga lalaki pag nakabuntis sila ng babae. Pero tayo, nandito lang, walang magagawa kundi harapin yung mga consequences.
At saka, ang Pilipinas kasi ay predominantly Catholic. Tapos 'di ba ang church ay against sa abortion? Kaya nga hindi pa rin nagagawang batas ang SOGI bill kasi malakas ang impluwensya ng Catholic churches at religious groups dito sa Pilipinas.
Kasi nga, ang abortion sa kanila ay isang pagkitin ng buhay sa isang paslit for unborn child. Magbabata man, sanggol o hindi pa pinapanganak.
Pero hindi ba kayo naku-curious bakit kapag abortion ang usapan na hindi na ito justifiable para sa kanila?
Well, ang bansa kasi natin is more on closed case sa abortion since buhay pa rin daw ang pinag-uusapan.
They should know na ang mga induced abortion ay ginagawa under ng 4 categories. As stated by Britannica 2023, una ay maprotektahan ng mental or physical health ng ina. Pangalawa ay dahil sa rape at incest. Pangatlo ay kung ang fetus ay may mga seryoso na deformations. At ang huli, ang pang-apat ay dahil sa extreme na economic state ng ina.
We must be educated in sex ed, lalo na if hindi pa kaya bumuhay ng isang bata.
Maraming studies na rin na nagtatakal sa mga nangyayari sa mga magulang na may unwanted pregnancies and induced abortions, tulad ng stress disorder sa isang ina dahil sa induced abortion.
Grabe rin pala ang effect ng abortion sa magulang, no? You will never know talaga hanggat hindi mo naranasan.
Hearing this makes me want to enlighten those people na walang access sa podcast natin, na needed talagang malaman yung ganitong topic.
Don't you worry, malalaman at malalaman din nila using our podcast. Not now, but soon.
We tackled a lot from the introduction of sex ed, consent and boundaries, contraceptives and safe sex, financial means of taking care of children, and lastly, induced abortions.
We would like to thank our fellow speakers, our philosophy teacher, and last but not the least, our dear listeners for making this podcast possible.
Curious about what's next? We hope to be with you, dear listeners, on our next episode.
As the famous Filipina drag queen Manila Luzon said, for Filipinos by Filipinos. We teen queens are now signing out. We encourage each of you to keep the flame of curiosity alive, to seek knowledge, and to engage in open conversations. Once again, thank you for listening to our Quickie podcast.
Be, what if sa next episode?
Rhetorical question yun.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex.